Hello, and thank you for letting me take a few moments to talk about Reach 2020. I call it Reach 2020 because it's a play on words. We feel like there are certain goals that God has set before us to be accomplished by the year 2020. So this is a 2-year vision. But if we're going to do this, then we must have Jesus' 2020 vision for the world. We must start seeing people the way Jesus sees people. It comes from Jesus' command in John 4:35. Look, I tell you, lift up your eyes and see that the fields are white for harvest. 3 times in that one verse, Jesus tells us to see with His vision. He says, look. Then He says, lift up your eyes. And then He says, see. So with each of our 4 specific goals, there are 4 specific people groups we are seeking to reach. I know that we've gone over these goals several times, but let me go over them one more time, because each one of these goals is designed to reach a specific people group. First, we want to continue reaching the next generation by building a new Creekside Worship Center, which will also double our space to reach more youth in our student ministry building. 4 years ago, we realized as a church we were not reaching those in their 20s and 30s. So we changed our approach and started a Creekside worship service on Sundays at 11 in our student ministry building. Within a year, it was packed out. And so we started a second one at 8:15. It's now full as well. The success of these services has created 2 problems. Our student ministry building is stuck between 2 services and can't grow. And our Creekside services no longer have room to grow. I remember when my boys were in middle school, they experienced a huge growth spurt. I mean, I would buy shoes one month, and a few months later, they needed new shoes again because they no longer fit. Now, I'm cheap and I hate to spend money, but I couldn't say to them, stop growing. No, I had to respond to their growth and buy them new shoes. It's the same way here. God has blessed us, and now we need to respond to God's blessings and provide for more space. Our solution to this space issue is to build a new Creekside worship venue. The location for this new building will be on the west side of the creek and the main sanctuary, and it will be facing the parking lot and the student building. It will have a contemporary and welcoming feel. It will be much like our Bonnie Oaks campus atrium with a fireplace. It will have that coffee house setting, and there'll be plenty of room where you can hang out before and after worship services and actually grab some coffee and a donut. The new Creekside Sanctuary will hold about 620 people, which is 240 more people than our present building. But even with these added seats, it will still have an intimate feel. And just like our present Creekside worship room, it will have a state-of-the-art sound system and lighting. There will not be a bad seat in the house. There's a lot of creativity and worship that can happen in this room so that we can effectively keep reaching the next generation. So, once this building is built, our student building can then be fully utilized to reach our students on Sunday as well. In essence, we are doubling our space to reach the next generation. The second goal. We want to more effectively reach the world around us by building a coffee house which will serve as an alternative worship venue where we can interact and reach the unchurched. It's become a modern-day phenomenon that coffee houses have become the gathering places for our culture. In our culture, we look for a third place to gather. We gather first in homes with our family. Second, we gather at work. But then we look for a third place. In generations past, it was the church. In the Andy Griffith Show, it's Floyd's Barbershop. Where I grew up, it was Dino's Pizza. But the most common place people gather today in our culture are coffee houses. God has already blessed our church with a prime location on the corner of Bonnie Oaks and Silverdale. It will be right next to the new Wendy's. Here is the amazing thing. 17,000 cars drive past this location every day. 17,000 cars. So instead of building another church building where people might visit once a week, we want to create a place where the church and the community will cross paths 7 days a week. We will also use this space as another alternative worship venue. It will be a 2-story building where the whole top level can be used for larger gatherings. We believe that people who might never walk through the doors of our church will readily walk through the doors of our coffee house. We are praying they come for coffee and they find Christ. Now hang with me. We're halfway there. Third goal. We want our church to take the lead in reaching our city and community by using all the profits from our coffee house to fund partnerships touching the inner city. Since our church is the largest church in the area, we should take the lead in building bridges between the races and helping to reach the inner city. Through our local missions pastor, Gus Hernandez, God has already connected our church with dozens of amazing partnerships like YCAP or Urban Partnership, the Community Kitchen, and many inner city schools, along with our Hispanic ministry and food bank that is run out of our St. Elmo campus. God is already doing some amazing things through these partnerships. But in the future, we're going to take all the profits from our coffee house and use it to help fund these ministries even more. Our coffee house will not only build bridges, but it will also pay for ministries. The most popular example is National Community Church in Washington, D.C. It's called Ebenezer's Coffee House. They have raised over $1 million for missions from their coffee house. And with over 17,000 cars passing by our coffee house every day, we believe it will generate a lot of funding to help us touch our inner city. And when you merge the volunteers from our church and this new funding, we will start to see genuine change in our city. One final goal for our Reach 2020. We want to reach Appleton by purchasing land for a future church campus. Advisors tell us that Appleton will become one of the fastest growing areas in our county. And yet, sadly, there are not enough growing churches in that area to reach these new families for Christ. We're hoping to purchase land in Appleton in the next 2 years. We're hoping God will provide land on East Brainerd Road. Now, because land prices continue to escalate, we want to have it secured now. Now, let me be clear, we're not able to launch a new campus in Appleton yet, but if we get the land now, within the next 5 years, we may be able to launch a campus in Appleton. So those are the 4 goals of our Reach 2020 campaign. And even though I've talked a lot about buildings and land, the reason for all of this is to advance God's kingdom and touch more people with the gospel. That's the bottom line. Reach 2020 is not about expanding our facilities. It's about touching more families. It's not about a new sanctuary. It's about saving new souls. Now, I believe God is going to reach thousands of people through our efforts in these 4 areas. But anytime you start making a plan like this, it comes at a premium price. We believe it will take about $4.5 million to accomplish these 4 goals. And the only way we will ever reach that goal is through the sacrificial commitment of our entire membership. So, I want each of you to start praying now how God might lead you and your family in giving to this campaign. Most of us live paycheck to paycheck, so giving will require sacrifice and faith. But I don't want this to be about pressure. I want this to be about prayer. Let me say that again. I don't want this to be about pressure. I want this to be about prayer. Just ask the Lord, Lord, what is your will for my life in this matter? What do you want to give through me to reach 2020? And when we make this about prayer and not pressure, suddenly our giving becomes an act of worship, and we begin to see God move in our lives as we obey Him. So pray and then give accordingly. This coming weekend, February 17th and 18th, we'll gather as a church family for Commitment Weekend. During each service, we'll be asking all of our congregation to indicate how God is leading them to give to Reach 2020. That way, the leadership of the church can plan accordingly. We will all commit to giving to Reach 2020 for the next 2 years. Between now and then, continue to pray for your commitment. Thanks again for your time, prayer, and commitment to the ministry of Silverdale Baptist Church. And God bless.